A revolution that will forever be remembered. In human history, the French Revolution. Behind this monumental wave of transformation lay the profound philosophy of a single thinker, Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Through his powerful message, man is born free, but everywhere he is in chains. He wielded a sharp blade of criticism against the social structures and civilization of his time. Yet, paradoxically, the life of this man, who so passionately cried out for true freedom, had to be lived in wandering and solitude. At times, he was forced to walk a lonely path, facing the world's misunderstandings and condemnation. Today, through the life of Rousseau as a human being, we wish to pose deep questions. What is genuine freedom? What is the pure essence of human nature? And is the society we live in truly moving in the right direction? Now, lend your ears to the voice of Rousseau, the solitary thinker. His story will undoubtedly deliver a profound resonance to your heart. In 1712, Jean-Jacques Rousseau was born into an ordinary watchmaker's family in Geneva, Switzerland. But from the very beginning, his life was anything but smooth. His mother passed away right after giving birth to him, and young Rousseau had to grow up in the absence of his mother. His father read to the young boy classics such as Plutarch's Lives, stories of the heroes of ancient Rome, planting in him the seeds of free thought and an independent spirit. This became an important experience that later served as the philosophical foundation for Rousseau. However, his childhood was by no means stable, emotionally or environmentally. When Rousseau was only 10 years old, his father became entangled in legal troubles and had to leave the city. Thus left alone, Rousseau was forced to drift from one relative's house to another, enduring an unstable adolescence. At times working as an apprentice, at other times as a servant, he experienced firsthand the diverse aspects of life from the very bottom of society. These years of wandering and his experiences as a social underdog would later have a profound impact on his thought. He would later look back on his life and say, "I took the whole world as my teacher, and every experience taught me." Although he never received a proper formal education, Rousseau built his own intellectual world through reading and deep contemplation. The deprivation of his childhood and his constant wandering led him to deeper reflection, opening the eyes of a thinker capable of piercing the contradictions and injustices of the world. His painful past instead became nourishment for the birth of his great philosophy. As a young man in his late 20s, Rousseau set out for Paris with hope, heading to what was then the cultural and intellectual center of Europe. There he quenched his intellectual thirst by mingling with the leading figures of the French Enlightenment movement, including Diderot and D'Alembert, some of the greatest minds of the age. At the time, Paris was a hotbed of Enlightenment thinkers who regarded reason and progress as supreme values. And Rousseau cultivated his abilities in this vibrant atmosphere. At first, he studied music theory, composed operas, and demonstrated his talent in the arts. He also contributed to the Encyclopédie, the must-read work of contemporary intellectuals, earning recognition for his writing skills and insight. Yet Rousseau fundamentally differed from the other Enlightenment thinkers. Whereas most of them firmly believed that reason would advance humanity, and that civilization would elevate mankind, Rousseau instead believed that the development of civilization and society corrupted humanity's free and pure nature. His unique perspective came to light in 1750, when he presented his discourse on the arts and sciences for the Dijon Academy's essay competition. In this essay, he challenged the prevailing notion by asking, "Has the progress of the arts and sciences truly purified morality?" He boldly answered no, causing a great sensation in intellectual circles. With this single essay, he rose to instant fame. In it, he made this powerful declaration: "To renounce liberty is to renounce being a man. To surrender the rights of humanity and even its duties." This assertion was a revolutionary proclamation that shook the very foundations of existing ideas, and it became an important intellectual basis for what would later ignite the French Revolution. Deeply disillusioned by Paris's glamorous but artificial social life, Rousseau began longing to leave the city and live a simple life in nature. Seeking true freedom that arose from within, he turned back to nature, and this became the most creative period in which his greatest masterpieces were born. His novel Julie, or The New Heloise, published in 1761, made a huge impact on European society at the time. The work emphasized the beauty of nature, the purity of human emotions, and the value of love that transcends social conventions, earning him recognition as a key forerunner of Romantic literature. Then, in 1762, he published two monumental works containing the essence of his philosophy. The first was The Social Contract. In this book, Rousseau introduced the revolutionary concept of the general will, laying a firm foundation for popular sovereignty and democratic thought. In the opening, he proclaimed the shocking statement: "Man is born free, and everywhere he is in chains." With this, he ignited a powerful spark for freedom among the oppressed. He argued that for humans to be truly free, they must voluntarily obey the laws that they themselves had agreed upon and legislated, insisting that this was the essence of true liberty. The second was his innovative treatise on education. Émile. In it, Rousseau fiercely criticized rote learning, advocating instead for children to grow freely in a natural state, and emphasizing the importance of experiential education. He argued that children should not simply memorize knowledge about the world, but grow by exploring and discovering it themselves. His famous cry, "Back to nature," did not merely mean a physical return to nature, but a call to recover humanity's original purity and free spirit, and to escape artificial social restraints in order to find one's true self. Yet these two books directly challenged the rigid social order and religious doctrines of the time, and both were banned in France and in his native Geneva. As a result, Rousseau faced harsh persecution, and was ultimately forced to go into exile in order to survive. Rousseau's life was as tumultuous and intense as his revolutionary ideas. After the publication of Émile and the Social Contract, he was attacked by the church and the government, and even faced threats of arrest, forcing him to wander across Europe without a fixed home. He fled France, passed through Switzerland, and eventually reached England, where he received help from the prominent philosopher David Hume. But Rousseau's innately sensitive and paranoid temperament led to misunderstandings and conflicts even with Hume, who had tried to help him, and he eventually returned to France. He felt that he was constantly misunderstood and persecuted by the world, and this sense of isolation only grew deeper within him. He recorded his complex and painful inner struggles, and his life of ceaseless wandering in Confessions. This book is regarded as the first full-scale autobiography in Western literary history, laying bare the most honest and vulnerable aspects of human nature, as well as the fierce process of self-exploration. In it, he wrote, "I am not like anyone I have ever met. If I am not better, at least I am different." This was a sharp self-awareness, and at the same time, a powerful cry emphasizing the uniqueness and individuality inherent in every human being. In his later years, Rousseau suffered from delusions and persecution mania, leading an increasingly solitary life. Yet even so, he never abandoned his belief in human freedom and inherent goodness. Paradoxically, his life itself was a ceaseless journey, in search of the true freedom he had pursued all his life, leaving a profound resonance for generations to come. In 1778, at the age of 66, Jean-Jacques Rousseau ended his turbulent life in Ermenonville, France. During his lifetime, he had faced relentless criticism and misunderstanding, living a lonely existence. Yet after his death, his ideas began to exert the most powerful influence on human history. Barely a decade later, his philosophy provided the intellectual foundation for the French Revolution, and his ideas of individual freedom, rights, and popular sovereignty became the cornerstone of modern democracy that we enjoy today. In education, his Émile ushered in the era of child-centered education. While in literature, his emotional and naturalistic approach positioned him as an important forerunner of Romanticism. He believed that human weakness was the root of all evil, and he declared, "All wickedness comes from weakness. If you want to make your children wicked, make them weak." This was the core of his educational philosophy. A powerful message that humanity must awaken its inner strength and cultivate the capacity to stand independently. And his final confession, "I have loved life," vividly revealed the pure and passionate spirit of a thinker who had spent his entire life desperately seeking true freedom and truth. Rousseau was not merely a philosopher of armchair theory. He was a true practitioner who sought to prove his ideas through his entire life. He remains in history as a symbolic figure representing the value of freedom, a value humanity will forever long for. The life of Jean-Jacques Rousseau was lonely and tumultuous, yet the philosophy and words of wisdom he left behind gave humanity a deep and powerful resonance of freedom. He posed a fundamental question about the social order and educational methods we take for granted. Do these truly make humans free and preserve their innate purity? Are we, today, truly living within the freedom that Rousseau dreamed of? In what kind of education are our children growing up? And are they truly becoming free beings? Through Rousseau's intense life and profound words of wisdom, I hope this has been a meaningful time to reflect once more on our own lives and the society in which we live.